Hello, Houston. Hello, world. This is John Henry with Pacifica Business Talk, 90.1 FM on your dial. You can join the show by dialing 713-528-5738, extension 2 to talk, or extension 1 to support your local Pacifica radio station. The email for the show is johnhenryradio@yahoo.com. And if you'd like to be on the show or have a comment on the show, please email johnhenryradio, just like it sounds, @yahoo.com. Today, we're pleased to welcome Mr. Robert Sanchez and Bill Swann from the Houston Electric Vehicle Association. Y'all might have heard me in the past talking about Tesla and other companies that market electric vehicles and some of the trends that are happening with electric vehicles. And so let me welcome Bill. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
Okay, you sound good. And Robert, what about you?
Likewise, fine.
All right, we have great mics. It sounds really good. First, to kick this off, I'd like to read a section about energy demand, and we'll comment and move into y'all's section. And this is from an article that I'm planning to cover in more detail called "What the Market Overlooked in 2022." A letter from Kathy Wood, ARC founder, CEO, and CIO. And under her section of energy demand, she says, demand for crude may have peaked in 2019 at 100.5 million barrels per day, particularly now that EVs are taking the share of total auto sales, and ride-hailing companies like Uber are partnering with rental car companies like Hertz to rent EVs. Hertz says that EV maintenance costs are 50 to 60% lower than those for gas-powered cars. According to ARC's research, thanks to their high utilization rate compared to personal cars, autonomous electric vehicles could lower oil demand by 25 to 30% to 72.6 million barrels by 2030. Now, we all believe that lowering oil consumption, lowering carbon emissions will be helpful to the planet, but it's more than that. Y'all have an association called the Houston Electric Vehicle Association, and I believe you all were early comers to the whole EV concept. Why don't one of you give it a try and tell a little bit about the history of the organization and the organization's purpose?
Thank you. Robert, do you remember when it first started? It was at least 30 years ago, I believe. And at the time, lead acid was the thing.
1993.
Yes.
Okay.
A gentleman, I've forgotten his name, had the bright idea. I remember when I first saw my electric vehicle in a show in Austin, and being a car guy, like we generally are, I said to myself, well, okay, you're at a red light. What do you do as compared to a gas engine with a clutch, for example? And so the club has been around for a long time. It is generally morphed today from a club that has a lot of enthusiasts that did conversions to almost everyone within the club. In fact, I would say everyone within the club has all sorts of brands of electric vehicles: Tesla, Rivian, Bolt. I'm driving a Leaf. And so and I might also add, let me just put a plug for the club. It meets at TXRX Labs, and almost all the members have renewable energy also, and they're into batteries. Batteries, home style batteries for power backup during an outage like we've had. Robert, do you have something to add?
I believe, and I could be mistaken, that the national chapter was formed in late 60s, perhaps early 70s. So back then, and for much of our history of the national and local chapters, it was lead acid batteries and conversions, which takes what's called an ICE car, internal combustion engine vehicle car, and then you take out all the guts of all the ICE parts, and then you put in an electric motor, the batteries, et cetera, et cetera. And that was it for a while. You had limited range, limited power. You were using lead acids. But then Elon Musk, he kicked off our automotive and energy revolution with the Tesla. And then when I joined back in 2007, it was basically conversions, neighborhood electric vehicles, which were, I call glorified golf courses. Some of them may or may not be street legal, but you had theirs. And then you also had the Tesla, the original Roadsters, which was very expensive. It was like a toy for the very rich. And eventually, as time went by, people had an interest. He took the money from the high dollar sales. He rolled it back in the company, economies of scale, started looking for a more moderately priced car. It was the S, and then the Model 3, the Model X, the Model Y. This sounds like rebel ships in Star Wars, Y, T, and all that. Mm-hmm. But anyways, he did that, and the rest, they say, is history. It's like imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that the other major manufacturers caught on, and they said, hey, this is the future. We better get on it or else we'll be left behind. And then so you see Volkswagen, Ford, GM, almost everybody has an EV brand or plans to.
Y'all's club kind of gives me vibes, reminds me of the early days of Apple, which started as an enthusiast gathering with parts and a circuit board, and there was no hard disk storage or anything. But as it matured, the big guys came in, and the big guy is, of course, Elon Musk, and he's planning nothing less than a complete revolution in the way we travel and use energy. I tell you what, let's continue on the other side. I understand that Mr. Sandy Weissman, who is the interim executive director of Pacifica, is on the line, and would like to visit with us about fundraising for this current cycle.
Yes, he would. It's Sandy Weinman, interim general manager.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I got both of them.
Yeah, well, let's make sure he's a good general manager before we promote him all the way to the top. Sandy, are you there? Can you hear us? And he should be able to hear us. All right. Okay. Well, maybe he stepped away from the microphone. Let's go ahead and continue.
Okay, we'll continue. Well, now we're how many people are in the club now, and has the character of the club changed since you can just go out now, plunk down money, and buy a ready for prime time electric vehicle?
Robert sends me many emails of what's happening in the world in electrifying everything. And let's not forget, we have one member of the club that converted a riding lawnmower to electric. Not many people have an electric lawnmower that'll go 30 miles an hour.
I'll bet it has great torque, too.
Yeah, but the electrification of everything, boats, airplanes, that's coming along. It's a bit of a challenge to electrify an airplane because of the weight of the batteries, but boats, lawnmower, you can buy an electric lawnmower today. They're quite expensive, and they work just fine. Cars. I love electric bicycles. I'm embarrassed to say how many I have.
They have them all over Europe in the major cities, and actually I've seen them in Houston. They're not as pervasive, but Uber has a service in Paris and in Rome, and you just scan the code, you hop on the bike, and you do the pedals twice, and you're off.
That's right. I have a three-wheeler that is electric, and I'm going to, at some point, put a flexible solar panel above it and charge the batteries from the sun. Anyway, Robert?
It's grown quite a bit. First, in its early phase, it was enthusiasts. It was basically conversion. It's still a thing, but it's not quite the big thing as it is now.
So how many members are in the club?
I'm going to say 130 are on the email list.
Okay.
Now, we meet it, as I mentioned, at TXRX Labs. They have a nice classroom there, and we occasionally help people work on their electric vehicles. The Labs has just initiated a program to show people how to convert bicycles to electric. Yeah, we meet monthly there.
Okay.
And it's a wonderful experience because the labs is a high-tech place. I don't know whether any of your listeners have been. Have you been to the labs, John?
No.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Oh, it's 6401 Navigation.
Right, okay.
It is a 5-acre facility that has mostly new startups there, but the maker space occupies a rather large area there, and they teach welding, machining, woodworking, programming, you name it. If you want to teach something, jewelry making, kiln, pottery-related stuff, if you want to teach something and they feel like there is a class can make, they'll give you a classroom and support you with audiovisual equipment.
So it's an incubator type of place.
Yes.
Okay, well,
Yes.
very good.
Robotics, you name it.
One of the things that excites me most about Tesla in particular and EV vehicles in general is the possibility of robotic or full self-driving. We all know that a human has to be involved in driving. It's a when people say full self-driving, that doesn't mean you sit in the back seat. But it does mean that you have 9 cameras around this vehicle, and I'm talking about Tesla, and others have other solutions, that watch everything all the time. We humans have 2 eyes, and we look forward and we glance up at the rearview mirror, but we're prone to distraction. We're prone to talking. We're prone to texting. We're prone to error. We're prone to error. And so So I'm very excited about the safety possibilities of full self-driving, and I've seen many videos, as far back as a year or 2 ago when full self-driving beta 8 came out, beta 9 came out. People don't understand that this technology is here now, and Tesla's self-driving revenue is high. I'm sorry I don't have the number in front of me. It's not a couple of $1 million. Let me put it that way. I believe it's over $100 million. Each car that Tesla produces is capable of using the full self-driving software. Now, the insurance reduction possibilities, the human life saving possibilities are absolutely beyond belief. Have you either of y'all experienced full self-driving? And if you have, what's it like?
I'll mention I have a friend that has a Tesla. We were driving down to a solar farm southwest of Houston, and it wasn't on full self-driving, but it was interesting because at some point the car decided to do something, and a large beep happened, and he jumped because you don't know what the car is going to do.
Right.
And I think it was just a lane change. I don't think we fully appreciate what full self-driving is going to look like. I will mention that we did have a speaker from Tesla who worked at Tesla, and he was given this was a couple of years ago, and he said he commuted to work working on a laptop in his Tesla. And he also said that, probably programming for driving on the freeway is very easy, but situations, for example, the roads in a third world country are a bit more challenging because it's less predictable as to what the sensory system on the car might see and how to react to it, right? A cow.
A narrow street where you have people parked on either side and then a car coming that you have to negotiate.
Absolutely.
In other words, what level of aggressiveness are you going to assign the car? Are you going to be Houston aggressive where you just go? Or are you going to be European aggressive where you let the other guy go? And of course, I'm exaggerating.
Yeah.
But I'm really amazed by the by these possibilities, and I'm delighted that Tesla went to a visual system rather than some unusual LiDAR or radar system. In other words, we as humans navigate based on sight. And so we see a car coming, and if we see it, if we're paying attention, we and we react.
It's called, and this is an engineering term, it's called a sample data control system. And there's a whole lot of mathematics behind that. You sample something, judge the speed and distance of it, and react accordingly. And
yes.
The mathematics, I assume it's in there, in the full self-driving thing. I want to mention one thing. So we're talking about disruptive transportation technologies.
Yes.
Have you heard of a man called Tony Seba?
Actually, I have, but I can't place it right now.
He is a futurist studying disruptive technologies, and he's got a lot of videos on YouTube. It's really interesting to hear him speak about what he foresees as disruptive technology. You've alluded to safety, the insurance companies liking self-driving because they're probably better than humans, although there's a bit of work to be done. But I would encourage the listeners to go online and listen to Tony Seba, because nobody can predict the future, but he's got a very good record of what future might be in store based on the full self-driving technology that's evolving.
Well, the future is here now. That, by the way, the site for Tony Seba is tonyseba.com, SEBA, and you can look on YouTube and find information about this. Right. I usually see futurism through vendors because I'm so into business. In other words, where can I get this technology now? In other words, right now, I can go and if I had $48,000 plus the $15,000 for full self-driving, I could go and get full self-driving today. I believe I can just, in other words, I don't have to be some beta qualified tester or anything. I can just go right out and buy it.
Yep.
That doesn't mean I'm going to, turn my life and the lives of the people on the road over to a robot without paying attention every second. But I tell you what, let me visit just a little bit, and we'll return to this topic about Pacifica Business Radio. We certainly would appreciate your support in this fundraising season by having your contribution attributed to Pacifica Business Radio. When you go on to kpft.org and contribute, and you can contribute any amount, but today I believe there's a $1,000 matching offer for the first show that raises $1,000. And
we have that already.
We have it now.
That's right. Susan Darrow raised $1,000
she
for
got
us.
it.
Yeah, that's right. So it's off now. The matching is off.
Well, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't contribute.
Oh, no, you should contribute, yes.
Very much so. And Pacifica Business Radio has had some fantastic contributions, and it would be nice if you would call during the show and contribute, but you don't have to call during the show. When you go to kpft.org, contribute. Perhaps you can have a brick in our palatial plaza out in front of our Caroline studios. It's not that palatial, but it's very modest. But you can have a permanent remembrance of your contribution there. Also, there are some fantastic shows that are available at the Do-Si-Do or Anderson Fair or Mucky Duck. So you can look on the on kpft.org and look at the various offerings that we have. And on page 2, there's a drop-down box of all our fantastic shows. I'm asking you to go past all the fantastic shows that are on and choose Pacifica Business Radio as the beneficiary of your contribution, and that will serve as a vote, a very important and tangible vote for this type of business talk. This is non-commercial business talk. Here we have two gentlemen who are work with a volunteer nonprofit organization just out of the love of the technology of electric vehicles and what they're going to do for our society. Mr. Robert Sanchez and Bill Swann, who have day jobs but volunteer their time to promote really revolutionizing the way we use energy and transport ourselves around the world to a cleaner and more sustainable world here in the United States and all over the world. And the United States is leading, although China is coming up fast. But so this type of non-commercial open talk where you can call and talk to these gentlemen about electric vehicles who have 20, 30 years of experience actually rigging up the vehicles themselves. And now we have, and it's blossomed into this incredible technology where we can go to a store and purchase an electric vehicle at a reasonable price. That's what you get on Pacifica Business Radio. So contribute now. Is Sandy? Sandy wanted to visit? Is he available now, or will he join us later?
He will probably join us in just a few minutes. I'll let you know.
Okay, just give me a deuce, and we'll.
I'll give you the high sign, man.
High sign. All right. Okay. Well, good. Go ahead.
Let me bring up a topic which is very real, namely. So there's no exhaust pipe on an electric vehicle, but there is the concept of what do they call it, Robert? The long
tailpipe or something like that.
You know, the energy comes from somewhere, so
and it has to go somewhere too, right?
It drives the car, and
right.
I might add that the efficiency they say of an electric vehicle is high 80s, maybe 90s. The efficiency of a gas car is maybe 30%, because heat flowing is power, and on an ICE vehicle, an internal combustion engine, the heat flowing out of the radiator represents power that's not used, and the heat coming out of the exhaust pipe represents power that's not used. So from an energy perspective, electric vehicles are much more effective in terms of for transportation purposes. But I wanted to tie this talk. I'm also involved, and Robert, with promoting renewable energies, in particular the Houston Renewable Energy Group. I want to tell a little anecdotal story. It's tied into lithium batteries. The story, I used to have lunch with the retired oil people, and this was when I was first getting into solar energy, and I think I had an electric vehicle by then. They were made in the 90s.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
In response to a law in California that the car companies would start producing no emissions vehicles, and I acquired a few of them. But the story, when I would say to my former retired oil friends, I'm getting into solar, I think it's very interesting, And one of them would shrug his shoulders. He didn't think there was any future in solar. And, of course, we know now today that it's coming on like gangbusters.
Well, let me ask you about solar. In the 80s, there were these solar panels on roofs, and in my opinion, those seem to be nothing more than water heaters to me. And I don't know whether they are or not, but let me ask you this question. Right now, I'm paying about $200 a month for electricity. If I put solar panels on my roof, would I be saving what, $100 a month, $150 a month, or what? And if that's the case, if it cost me $20,000 to put those solar panels on my roof, I'd be dead before I recovered that cost. Why don't you address the economics of that?
Sure. I'll just say that what happens when you contact a solar installer. They'll ask for your address. They'll look at your roof on Google Maps or specialized software to examine the area that you can put on your roof. Frequently, people are limited by the amount of area or shading.
The angle,
The angle, right.
Yes.
I mean, the best is a south-facing roof at latitude -10, which is 20 degrees for Houston.
Okay.
It sort of emphasizes the summer sun. There's more energy coming in the summer than the winter time. So they'll look at your roof, they'll give you a quotation, and I will say that the payback is generally 8 to 12 years. That is, you plop down X amount of dollars, you start your electric bill, depending on the array size, slows down, diminishes the moment you turn it on, but it takes 8 to 12 years for you to recoup that investment. And I won't go into people renting your roof and other market solutions to adding solar, but that I understand your concern. Why would I get a new roof if it'll outlast me, or why would I get solar if it'll outlast me?
One of the things that intrigues me, and again, I'm banging the Tesla drum, and I'm sorry I've just done so much research on it, but they seem to have a roof combined with battery panels in the house, combined with the car, where it all works together to kind of it's like your own energy power plant. However, each one of those panels costs about $9,000. The roof costs like $20,000. So you're talking about $40,000 to have this kind of solar electrical infrastructure at your house, and it's very, very, it's such an attractive concept, but it's also an expensive concept.
Absolutely. Economics is everything. There's no question about that. A house in my neighbor has the Tesla solar tiles, and it completely covers the roof. And but it is a roof. You don't have to get a new roof in 20 years or whatever the case may be.
It looks like a roof. It doesn't look like a bunch of panels up there.
Right. There's kind of a funny story. I live in Spring Branch, and the building ordinances there said that solar cannot be seen from the street. I do think the Texas legislature does good things, and they passed a law 2 years ago where saying that solar panels cannot be seen from the street is illegal. And I contacted 2 cities in that area and got that fixed.
The villages, like the Spring Valley?
Hillshire Village and Spring Valley. They both amended their ordinances to reflect state law, because state law trumps building code stuff. But to finish my story, and this talks about batteries a little bit, my 2 oil and gas friends, I was getting into solar, and they shrugged their shoulders. I said, Joe, henceforth I will refer to fossil fuels as ancient stored solar energy, right? The green stuff grows and gets subducted and
legacy fuels
over a million years cooked, and I will refer to wind power as recently stored solar energy, because the solar energy hits the atmosphere and, due to differential heating, causes the winds to happen. And I know we're on the edge of the hurricane season. I hope we don't have a bad one. And I might add that the third thing is photovoltaics is immediately stored solar energy. But if you know, the only way to store electrons is through batteries, and batteries are coming on very strongly these days. Solar farms are coming on very strongly, but battery farms, I can think of one, a Tesla battery farm down in Alvin, for example.
Yes.
Yeah.
A megapack farm.
Yes, sir. Right. And so the future is promising in terms of AGW, anthropogenic global warming.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, let's take our first musical break. On the other side, maybe we can get Sandy, and then we'll continue our discussion after the bottom of the hour. Welcome back to Pacifica Business Talk, 90.1 FM on your dial. Give us a call and visit with myself, Robert Sanchez, and Bill Swann, who are with the nonprofit Houston Electric Vehicle Association, a 30-year-old organization dedicated to the advancement and promotion of electrical transportation and the concomitant decrease in using using fossil fuels. We have a caller. Tori is on the line, and he has a question for Robert and Bill. Go ahead, Tori.
Hey, I was wondering if, wow, there's a hell of an echo here. Okay, I'm going to have to take my ear away from the phone.
You sound good to us.
I was just wondering if y'all had heard of this magnesium paste. It's a new thing. It's out of a lab in Germany, Fraunhofer Labs, and you can store hydrogen basically solid as it doesn't need to be under pressure or refrigerated. I think something the equivalent of a Tesla battery in weight in this, power paste can get you like 1,700 miles as opposed to like a Tesla battery, 300 miles. Have y'all heard about this new stuff, the power paste?
Thank you for the question. Go ahead.
I have not.
I have not either.
Well, it's going to eliminate batteries and gas stations.
So this would be an improvement / substitution to the lithium-based battery, and
it solves all the problems.
And it's an easier compound to mine.
Well, you don't need to mine it. It's hydrogen that it's combined with sodium and magnesium and some kind of high pressure process, and it can it just comes in a non-pressurized can, or you can pump it through but you can buy it at the 7-Eleven. You don't need a gas station, and you can buy it at the Walmart.
For those who are interested,
out of Germany, so they don't have. It's not in they don't have cars yet for it.
For those who are interested, where would they look up that technology?
Just Google power paste. You can go straight to the website for this lab in Germany, Fraunhofer.de.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Tori. Thank you so much for the call. Any other callers, please give us a call, 713-526-5738, extension 2 to talk. Howard is on the board. He will answer your calls and put you on the air. I'll note that those of you who regularly call the show may have noticed that in the last month or so, you can listen to the show while you're on hold. So if you call, you will not have to sacrifice listening to the show. So please give us a call. Robert, one of the things that the electric car industry gets a bad rap for is they'll show this huge clear-cut mine, this terrible open pit, and also and children mining lithium, and I don't know how true it is, but lithium is such an important component in batteries. Do you know what new compounds are on the forefront for more sustainable batteries?
That's not my forte. I remember we had a guest speaker that talked about it. He used to work for Tesla, and then he went to work for another company dealing with these issues about sourcing and everything. I would suggest just check Google or Bing and just see what's what, like battery technology or automotive battery technology. I'm not a big authority on that.
Do you have any comment on that, Bill?
I do not. I know that Tesla is building a large lithium processing facility, I believe, in
Nevada, right? Or is it
Corpus,
Mexico?
Corpus.
Oh, okay.
Where they maybe receive it by boat. I'm not sure. We certainly look forward to touring the mega battery plant in Austin when we can. To see the manufacture of batteries as well as cars, and you probably heard of the Tesla Cybertruck.
Bring it on. I cannot wait to see a Cybertruck. I can't wait to be between two Cybertrucks on the road because I think that is the absolute coolest looking car. And I tell you what, okay, since we're talking about specific models, I'd like to visit about pricing of automobiles, because these are things that we can buy right now. Now, I am not an expensive car buyer. I just can't imagine myself paying more than $25,000 or $27,000 for a car. So that puts me out of the electric vehicle range right now. The Tesla Model 3, I think, starts at 43, 45, 48. The Tesla Model Y is maybe 10K more. And then, of course, we have these luxury models, the Model S and the Model X. Now, you said that you had a Nissan Leaf. That's a much more reasonably priced vehicle. It's all electric. It's not hybrid, right? Mm-hmm. And then, didn't you have an electric vehicle, Robert?
Yes, I currently own a 2020 GM Chevy Bolt. B-O-L-T.
Yes.
I used to lease a 2018 Chevy Volt, V-O-L-T, which is a plug-in hybrid, half gas, half electric. You run down your electric battery, and then it shifts to gas. And
now the Volt is all electric.
The Bolt,
Bolt.
B-O-L-T. I hate that name.
I think GM made a mistake.
Big time.
But now there's a distinction between all electric and then hybrid. A hybrid car, a hybrid vehicle, is an internal combustion vehicle with electronic assist. Now those, so we have the Toyota Prius, well, and millions of those have been produced. It's been a very, very successful vehicle. We have the GM Bolt. The Volt, one of the two is hybrid, and it's been around for 10 years. It's a successful vehicle. The Nissan Leaf is all electric, and aren't those cars priced in the range between like $25,000 and $32,000?
Yes, but let's not forget, I purchased my Leaf about 6 years ago used. It was a 2011. That was the first year. I've been driving it ever since. I paid $6,600 for it, used.
Excellent. Okay. And tell us about the reliability in your experience.
Well, the heat went out, and it costs $2,000 to fix it, and so I've got a heated seat because it's all about electronics today. Power management. In fact, I encourage young people who are deciding on what kind of career to go into power management, because of the. I think there'll be a huge demand for people that understand electrical engineering, specifically power management. But so yes, there've been some problems with it, but overall, I love it. Since I drove a lead electric vehicle 15 years ago, I know where all the secret spots to plug in are in Houston.
Okay. But if you have a home, you charge it at night.
You charge at home, yes.
Now, that's one of the main things about electric vehicles, in my opinion, is that if you pull into your garage and you have this 220-volt cable, plugging it in, you plug it in every night and you're cool. What if you live in an apartment? What do you do?
I know one person who does drive a Tesla, lives in an apartment, and she lobbied the apartment to put in charge stations. And so it can be done. The economics of how you, the fee you pay for the electricity, that's a little bit tricky because of reasons I don't quite understand. But, I might add, I'm tying solar and electric vehicles. I bought a 20-foot container and it's located down at TXRX Labs. I put 18 panels on the roof, and I charge my electric vehicle there from sunlight.
Okay, fantastic. Well, see, that's totally off the grid. I mean, it's totally off the grid. That's just fantastic.
Absolutely.
Now, I tell you what, we have Maude on the phone. He has a question about electric auto history. Maude, thank you so much for calling again. We sure appreciate your calls. Why don't you go ahead?
Well, how y'all doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, I just sometimes have to play the bad guy, I guess.
Go for it.
So I saw the documentary like 1999, whatever, who killed the electric car.
Right.
And then, so that was a sincere, I think.
Just fill us in a little bit about that. I didn't see it. Our guests have seen it, but I have not seen it.
Well, it was more like still nickel, not lithium, like the original Priuses, I guess, lead battery. But they were building these cars, and they had, I think, charging centers, and the movement was good. But of course, Detroit lobbyists and certain state representatives in California basically shut it down.
Well, that kind of reminds me of and I'm not trying to, cast shade on your comment there, but that reminds me of the oil company suppressing the engine that would use water. 99 was just a whole different era from where we are now. It's a you would think that, I'm always on the lookout for powerful interests trying to stop progress. But what's going to happen now? Electric cars are expensive. They are not the Toyota Corolla. They are over $45,000, or mostly. The GM electric offering is being discontinued. The Mustang is quite expensive. The Hummer EV is ridiculous, in my opinion. The Cadillac EV is ridiculous, in my opinion. And I don't mean I'm talking ridiculous expense for the value of the car, and that's just my opinion. But now Tesla is going to be coming out with their version 4 platform, as it were. It's going to be $25,000, so they say. It's going to be using all modern manufacturing, an incredible advance in manufacturing footprint and integration, and you're not going to stop. There's no one going to stop that. In other words, people are going to be clamoring for that car.
Okay.
I really totally appreciate what you're saying. There are always interests trying to slow progress. Yes, you have.
Add to that?
Yes, go ahead.
So when we see these type of new developing technologies like EVs, we see when it's practical for certain, I will say, in this case, COINTEL is a venture capitalist company out of California, Simi Valley, and they funded Musk's SpaceX.
Oh, wow.
But if we really peel back the onion on this, we'll see Musk's granddad from Canada. His name is Joshua Helderman.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of the co-founders of the early 1930s called Technocracy. Out of what's called the University of Columbia, there were over 500,000 card holder members.
Well, that was 97 years ago, though, right?
So what we want to do is understand when it's profitable for certain, I guess, interests to stand up a poster child like Musk. And in the back end, you'll see the intelligence ancestry appendage. Then we would understand that when it would take someone like Musk's character to come up and have the financial backing from, again, COINTEL, venture capitalist company out of Simi Valley, California. And this applies to a lot of our alphabet companies, corporations, but that's another conversation.
I tell you what, Maude, give us a call back on another day where we have one other call and we're kind of running short. Thanks for the call. And people can look up that information. We do have Nancy on the phone. She has a question, and it sounds like it's about the organization. Go ahead, Nancy. You're on the air.
Oh, I want to thank Houston Electric Vehicle Association for coming, Robert Sanchez and William Swann. Thank you so much. I think that free workshop that William Swann gave, and it was many years ago. It was neat. It was so interesting. Do y'all still have that? And and another thing, KPFT did not have a car for the art car parade in 2011, I believe, and then another year later, and we asked Houston Electric Vehicle Association.
Nancy, thank you. We're having a hard time hearing you, but we did get your question about when is the next workshop for the Houston Electric Vehicle Association.
Well, if you want to find out at any time, I suggest I'll tell you, but go to our website. It's HoustonEVA.org, and it'll show all the upcoming events and meetings.
We meet at 6:30 on the second Tuesday?
Thursday.
No, 6:30, TXRX Labs, 6401 Navigation, on the second Thursday of each month. And I might also add, I give a 2-hour going solar workshop at the labs on the last Friday of each month from 2 to 4.
Now, you also have a Facebook group.
Yes, you can get it through the website I just got, HoustonEVA.org. We placed it, our administrator, Mr. Cullen, he posts a lot of articles there from various sources in the EV world. So it's a big potpourri of personal vehicles, electric aircraft, if you can believe that, electric watercraft. Boats, electric commercial vehicles, yada, 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 and also a little sprinkling of alternative energy like wind and solar. So I suggest you go to that website and check our Facebook account, and it's a potpourri of information.
Now, we only have a few minutes left, and I have a final question for us to chew on over the next, 3 or 4 minutes. Right, 3 or 4 years, I remember I came across a photo I had taken in 2016. I was on the Hardy Toll Road, and there were 2 Teslas, one right after another. And I took a photo, and I sent it to a friend. I said, oh, my God, it's 2 Teslas in a row, right on, because they were very rare in 2016. There's going to be a time when the sales of EVs crosses over the sales of ICE vehicles. Now, people have widely different opinions as to when that will be. I think some people might think it would be 2035. When do you, okay, now, bearing in mind that the Model Y was the most popular selling car in Europe, and it's certainly one of the most popular selling EVs in the United States last year. When will the crossover occur? And so, in other words, that will mean that internal combustion engines are decreasing at a much more rapid rate, and EVs are increasing at a rapid rate. When will that occur? What's your opinion?
I don't have an opinion. I know certain states have outlawed at a future date the sale of ICE vehicles. For instance, California. I don't remember what year that was.
California, Massachusetts, also other nations in Europe as well, and Asia.
Yeah, but that's fun to say for them. If there are no electric vehicles at that time, they're not going to outlaw this. They're going to have to reverse course. So I'm not talking about government intervention. I'm talking about citizens like myself who think there's no better alternative than to buy an electric vehicle. And I'm not some kind of altruistic person who's worried about global warming. I'm worried about getting the most efficient, least maintenance, lowest cost, highest reliability vehicle, and that's going to drive my decision. When do you have a crossover date?
It depends on who you listen to. Tony Seba, he wrote a book. This is 2030, which is about 7 years from now.
Okay.
But it all depends. Some guru is going to say another thing and another date, and the important thing is to see where it's headed to. I believe in Norway, about over 50% of the new vehicles sold are electric, and
so it's already there.
Yeah, and it's I think America reached 5% recently.
It's 8%.
8%. That's even better. And
I have a prediction: 2017.
No.
2027. We're already past 2027.
John, we're past that year.
I just Googled that, the crossover point.
What did it say?
In 2017, the crossover point was forecast as 2026.
Okay.
In 2018, the crossover point had moved 2 years closer to 2024. Well,
Whoa.
That's next year.
I don't think so.
Well,
Oh
my gosh. Well, maybe this. Oh, this was Energize magazine in 2019. So this is dated.
Well, it's coming. You know, there's a cycle of technology, and I think it's called Wright's Law. And we were talking about this off air, how battery technology is getting less and less expensive as the production increases. In other words, 10 years ago, we weren't worried so much about lithium. You know, you could get lithium, and it was available, but it was expensive and hard to get.
Right.
Battery technology is getting cheaper and cheaper,
Absolutely.
and people are seeking a solution from the lithium problem. And we had a caller today who had a kind of a real interesting thing that I had never heard of. But you guys are on the cutting edge of, y'all are like I said, like Steve Jobs and Wozniak in 1977. Did I get my decade right? Not 1877, 1977.
Right.
And now we're talking about the largest corporation in the world, Apple Computer. This is going to happen. You guys are on the absolute forefront.
Well, it's the big companies like Amazon. I saw a big Amazon Rivian electric delivery vehicle the other day.
Here in Houston?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
On my
Okay.
street twice.
Okay.
And I that's very promising. You know, when the big guys go to an all electric future. We are in the middle of a big energy transition, as much as the energy companies would not like to admit that, but I believe that is the case. Of course, I'm totally biased.
Well, the hour is coming, and now is, as someone said. The energy companies they have to be on board. You saw what Kathy Wood said: 100 million barrels in 2019, 70 million barrels. The energy era is on the decline. That will decline at a faster rate as alternative forms increase at a faster rate. Yeah. So, great talk. Do you all have anything to say just right as we end? We have like 30 seconds.
Well, my thing is just check out the websites, Google, YouTube things. Another good source, and I'm being a fanatic about websites, it's pluginamerica.org. They're more like the legislative arm, the lobbying arm of the EV world. And just research it. And my thing is, if an EV doesn't meet your needs budget-wise or otherwise, don't get it. In a few years it will.
Very exciting. Thank you all for being on the show. Okay. Tune in next Thursday at 12 o'clock.
All right.
If you just walk past your phone to pour yourself a cup of coffee, hold it right there. Put down that cup, pick up your phone, and dial KPFT at 713-526-5738. Your call will help keep this station going and growing. It's true, and it's just about that dramatic. Every single membership investment made in this station is important to our operations. Take a minute out of your busy day to call 713-526-5738. We're here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now it's your turn. Once again, the number to call is 713-526-5738.